Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for hitting the like button. Today we have 4 great stories. If you enjoy them and haven't already, why don't you make this the video that you subscribe to the channel? And with that out of the way, let's begin, shall we? The first story is called Bring It to the Mechanic. I'm a new supervisor in property maintenance, and the riding lawnmower we have has often broken down. A lot of these problems are from years of not doing preventive maintenance on it. This is something I've started doing recently in order to have the machine working better, for longer, and cutting down on downtime and mechanics cost. I've been spending almost all of my free time researching this mower, so I know what's wrong when something is wrong, and will be able to tell the difference between a 30-minute $40 repair I can do or a 3-day $600 repair the mechanic needs to do. A few weeks ago, while I was in the middle of starting a maintenance log on the mower, my boss sees me. He asks, "Is that thing broken down again?" To which I reply, "No, I'm just trying to make sure that it doesn't break down again." This is when he lets me know that he thinks what I'm doing is a waste of time and money, because our biggest expense is labor. So he no longer wants me to work on the mower, and instead wants me to take it to the mechanic across the city that charges $110 per hour for labor. The next week, of course, the mower breaks down again. I tell my boss that I think the problem is likely the air filter. He just tells me to take it to the mechanic. I and my whole crew spent 45 minutes driving across the city to the mechanic, drove off the mower, and sure enough, they had to replace the air filter, and it took them an entire day. They also told me that they'd looked the whole thing over and found no other issues and charged us a few $100s. 2 days after getting the mower back from the mechanic, it began having issues again. I knew it wasn't the air filter, but the fuel filter looked extremely dirty. Once again, I told my boss, and he told me, take it to the mechanic. So back we go. I tell the mechanics that the fuel filter looks bad and describe the issue I'm having. They say it's probably the fuel pump module, so they replace that and don't touch the fuel filters. This is another 3 hours of labor they charge us, plus parts, and the problem still isn't fixed. We get the mower back from them, and once again it breaks down on someone's front lawn. I call the mechanic, he acts confused, then asked us to bring it back for them to work on it more. This time they keep it for 3 days. I told them something was wrong with the fuel filter. They insisted it must be the fuel pump and took the whole fuel system apart just for them to agree with me that the problem was the fuel filter. This cost us nearly a full week of lost work, plus over $1,000 in mechanics cost, when I could have had it back up and running within 2 hours and for under $100. The next story is called Even the CEO Got In On It. Many years ago, I worked in tech support for a small software company. We prided ourselves on customer service and had beaten much larger companies to have the #1 selling product nationally in our field. We had overseas agents who, despite training, would ask the same questions over and over again. They would email these to our support address and they were always marked urgent. They were being particularly difficult because they had been called out on not helping the regional clients who were coming directly to us for support. On one occasion, one agent emailed through a request that they had been answered several times before in the previous months. Our policy was a 24-hour turnaround time on support requests. All of the support officers were on calls and couldn't reply immediately. 1 hour later, they sent the same email 14 more times. This wasn't some glitch. You could see multiple signatures where they had copied the previous email and just pasted it again. Being that the operations manager was in the management committee meeting with all the top end of the company and I was the senior support officer, one fed up support officer comes to me. He says, "Why do they expect that they can be responded to immediately, especially considering that we have answered this one just 2 weeks ago? What am I supposed to do?" Apologize that I didn't drop everything to answer an already answered question and be treated like crap by them at the same time. Another support officer pipes up with, "I gave them the answer to this 3 times in the last month." This agent had been particularly painful in the last 6 months, unreasonably demanding and abusive in every interaction. So I decided that we should make a point. Well, we are supposed to respond to all customer and agent inquiries. You just got 15 inquiries. You should queue up a reply to each one, then send all 15 back at the same time. Then we will get in the crap for being bastards back to them. So, why should we always cop their abuse? Let's see how they like to be treated this way. They both started to laugh. Then one said, "Right." Then he proceeds to type out a response, highlighting that it had been answered multiple times, and as per our previous correspondence, blah blah blah. He preps 15 replies and clicks send one after the other until they are all gone. Not 15 minutes go by and the agent calls to speak to the operations manager on a serious and urgent matter, insisting that he be pulled from the meeting to deal with him. The ops manager takes the call, then comes to see us, wanting to know what's happening. By this time, the CEO and head of sales have also been told. What's happening? I've got a regional agent on the line, complaining how he has been treated. He's saying that you are being offensive and unprofessional. Why have you sent the same email 15 times? What's the story? So we tell them. The ops manager says, right, they are getting told. He goes on the phone to the agent again. My guys only did to you what you did to them. If you can take it, don't dish out. And then the CEO said, hey ops, tell them to expect a call from me regarding the professionalism clause in their contracts. The third story is called, just doing what I'm supposed to do. For one of my class periods, I'm an office aide, meaning I help counselors, front office, APs, etc. do tasks. Depending on where one is stationed in the school, they have different tasks. Some do textbook organization, some give slips to students in class to talk to certain school officials, etc. This one day I was assigned with giving schedule changes to students. It's the start of the school year and we have 800 plus kids, so there are a lot of schedule mistakes, dropped classes and constant moving around. After I make my round going classroom to classroom, handling new schedules, I'm now empty-handed and returning back upstairs to where I was stationed. But before I get there, I run into a teacher I have problems with. Nothing too bad, but the link between us was not the best. They were standing in the hallway, probably on watch in case students skip class, and they stopped. Hey, what do you think you are doing skipping class? Oh, no, I was just going back. Save it, I'm sending you where you belong, at the room I'm stationed at. Alright, so we walk together to the room and then start saying, I found this kid skipping class and other things that were very much false. When the adults saw who the teacher was talking about, yours truly, they all said, no, he is office aide and stationed here. We had him distribute new schedules. The teacher went silent and his face went blank and a bit pale. They looked at the other adults, then to me. I gave a nice smile and then they left the room, defeated. The last story is called Everything Green. When I was in high school and still living at home, we were required to do community service in order to graduate. Those who did more than the minimum 10 hours were granted a recommendation from the high school to any college they applied to on the application to university, where they would recommend as a contributor to society. I had been working on my own lawn care business, better phrase as a community service, since I was in 9th grade. As it came to my 12th grade year, senior year in high school, all of my neighbors were having their yard mowed and trimmed by me. Come to my final year of primary school before university, I was still mowing the lawns of my neighbors free of charge. But I had also become alternate captain of my primary school's hockey team. Most of my neighbors were old enough that they couldn't take care of their lawn without help. Of course, there was always one person who always had extra things for me to do, regardless of what I had to get done after the yard. Theirs was normally the last one, since it was the closest to my home at the time. Let's call her Karen. Initially it was just small things, like moving their yard furniture so I could mow their whole yard without missing anything. Then came the day that I was sick of everything. I had mowed 5 yards in 95° Fahrenheit after I had completed an hour conditioning session for hockey and an additional conditioning session for lacrosse. Honestly, I was in a bad mood. I had gotten through all of the yards without a hitch because the people I was mowing for knew it was essentially for free. Then it was Karen's turn. I was already going to be late for practice and I knew it. As I started wheeling my mower out of her yard, I hear her, "Where do you think you are going?" I was a little stunned because I wasn't used to people just randomly running out and yelling at me. At this point I had completed mowing and was about to put the spray jug of Roundup away since I was done spraying all the weeds in the yard. I responded with, "I am done, I'm going home. You are leaving without completing my yard? There is a lot of green that I am not approving. I won't sign off until all of the green in the yard has been hit." Cue malicious compliance. I looked at her and said, "You want me to hit everything that is green before I leave? I want you to hit anything green before you leave." I think some of you can already see where this is going. As a high schooler who was told to spray anything green, I started spraying everything green. The next day after school, my dad called me into her room. When I walked in, Karen was there, scolding. "You killed all of my yard. You told me to round up everything green in your yard. Is that actually what you told him?" "Absolutely not." "Okay, what did you say?" "I told him to." She gets really quiet. She starts to bring up that the yard wasn't as short as she wanted and then walks away. "What did you tell him to do?" "I told him to hit anything green in the yard." I haven't seen such a big grin on my dad's face since. "You didn't." "I did." I ended up spraying Roundup on Karen's entire yard. Anything green? Roundup. Grass? Roundup. Any flower with a green stem? Roundup. Her prize orchids? Roundup. Since I was already going to be late, I didn't just to the recommended level of concentrate. It was twice as strong as it should have been. I had a whole neighborhood of people who would say I did an amazing job taking care of their yard. So when Karen called the cops to report me for property damage, she got a warning for falsifying police reports. She also got a scolding by the cops to not tell someone to do something if they don't want it executed to the letter. I have since moved back into the same neighborhood I grew up in and see Karen around. She glares at me every time I see her. Her yard has not recovered. And now it's your time to shine. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories? I hope you enjoyed today's video. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.